I have just recently tried online dating, and I would never try another online dating site ever again. What I'm about to share with you has left me living in fear and hopefully will warn you about the dangers of online dating. I just turned 23 not long ago, and I moved out on my own after I graduated college. And for context, I am a female. I dated a bit in college, but after I left, I focused on my work and my social life fell to the sidelines. After a series of lonely nights on Netflix, I had made an account on one of the major online dating platforms. After uploading a few really cute photos and writing a really nice bio, I started swiping left and right on potential guys. I went through over 100 profiles before I finally had matched with the really hot guy. He was tall, dark, and handsome with a head of wavy dark brown hair. We hit it off instantly, messaging back and forth. It turned out we had a lot in common. We both had the same taste in music, and it turned out he loved to read just as much as I did. We talked for hours about Nicholas Sparks' books and the latest Ariana Grande track. I had never met a guy who shared my taste in music and liked to read the same books as me. It was a nice change of pace. Our conversation lasted from dusk till dawn. However, I felt like I was doing most of the talking. He was a really good listener. I told him all about my life at work and the latest gossip about my coworkers. I shared facts about myself that I never told anyone. I felt so comfortable with this guy. I felt like I could tell him anything. He started to ask if I wanted to meet up. At first, I was a little apprehensive. I realized I didn't know much about him. I did most of the sharing while he listened and asked a few questions, but I really wanted to meet him. I really liked talking to him, so I agreed to meet him in person. He mentioned coming to pick me up, but I didn't feel comfortable with that. I suggested we meet at a nice coffee shop I usually went to on the weekends. He said he preferred to go somewhere less crowded. He suggested we go for a hike in the woods. I wasn't so sure about this, but I reluctantly agreed. We made plans to meet at 4 o'clock on Saturday. I get there a bit early and stayed in my car. For some reason, I just felt odd about it all, but I was very hopeful with the conversation we had, but I still kept my doors locked. I turned my car off, but kept the radio on. I waited until I got a text asking me where I was. I told him I was in the parking lot and asked him where he was. He said he was on his way. He said he'd meet me by the entrance to the trails. I was very apprehensive about this and decided to wait in my car until I saw him pull up. Thank God I did. I noticed a white van parked not too far from me with a man and girl inside. They were watching me intently. They looked very out of place. After waiting for 10 minutes or so, I shot him a text asking him how far away he was. He said he already pulled up and was waiting at the trail entrance. I thought there was no way he could have slipped by me as the park was empty besides me and the people in the van. There was no way I was getting out of my car. I waited there a bit longer and received several messages from him. He asked if I was coming. I asked him to come to the parking lot. He refused. That's when I saw something strange. I clearly saw the girl in the van texting, and as soon as I received the text message, she'd look up over at me. I don't know if this was a coincidence or if she was the one who was texting me after all. The text I received said he was waiting for me, and if I didn't come soon, he'd leave. At this point, there was no way I was getting out of my car. I then decided to FaceTime him, That way, it'd prove he is who he said he was. As I started the FaceTime, I looked over at the van and saw the woman's phone light up. They immediately canceled the call. I then decided to call the police and report everything. They said they sent someone out there where I was. I got a text saying if I don't come out, he was going to leave. I didn't fall for it. Instead, I said I'd be there in a minute. Just had to fix something. I was trying to stall for the police to get here. That's when the back door to the van opened up and 2 men in masks got out. By now, I was truly freaked out. I tried to start my car, but to my horror, the battery had died. It wouldn't even turn over. I was not truly terrified as the men walked over to my car. My heart was racing as they told me to roll down my window. I refused. They tried to open my car door, and thank God I kept it locked. One of them headed back to the van and pulled out a crowbar. I was now on the verge of tears as he walked up to the passenger side of my car and started to bash the window. As he unlocked the door and proceeded to get in my car, to my relief, a police car pulled up right then and there. 2 officers got out with their weapons drawn. Another police car pulled up behind them as the man raised their hands, and they were all arrested. What was truly horrifying is what they found in the van. There was chloroform, rope, handcuffs, duct tape, and weapons. Everything you needed to kidnap someone. Apparently, the girl was the one texting me. She had our entire conversation on her phone. It turns out they were part of a huge human trafficking ring. It scares me to imagine what could have happened if the police didn't arrive when they did. I haven't been on a dating site ever since. I was going to college at the time and was in my 3rd year. A little about me. My name is Alexis. I'm a female and I've been told I'm quite attractive. I was 21 at the time this happened. For whatever reason, I really had a hard time with men. I attributed this to being busy with classes, but I was getting a little lonely and a bit depressed. I decided to give online dating a try. I made a profile and uploaded some really nice photos before writing up a halfway decent bio. I had a bunch of matches, however, most of them seemed to only have one intention: to hook up. Obviously, I wanted something more serious. I finally matched up on a really hot guy who had a great smile and dark, silky black hair. We hit it off instantly. We had a series of long, deep conversations about life and philosophy. We had similar views on politics and things were going really great. One thing led to another and he ended up asking me out on a date. Of course, I accepted. We met up at a very nice restaurant. To my relief, I hadn't been catfished. He looked exactly like his pictures and he had the most amazing smile. We hit it off great. There never seemed to be a pause in the conversation. We just went from one topic to the other in a flow of interesting subjects. He had captured my interest. However, at one point I had to use the restroom. When I got back, he had ordered us some drinks. We continued the conversation without missing a beat as the evening led on. We had a few more drinks when I noticed something very odd. I was starting to feel very out of it. I felt like I was slowly losing control. I quickly got up and excused myself to the bathroom once more. I pulled my phone out and texted my best friend and told her that I think I had been drugged. I shared with her my phone's location. My memory got a bit hazy after this. I remember walking out of the restroom and I think he was waiting for me there. Next thing I knew, I was in his car. When I woke up next, I was strung up by a hook. As my eyes adjusted, I noticed I was in some kind of warehouse. There seemed to be dried blood everywhere. My heart began to race as I started to panic. I began to cry hysterically.
Oh, shut up. No one's going to hear you, so you can scream all you like.
That familiar voice said. I looked over to see the guy I was on a date with standing over by a table. He was wearing an apron and appeared to be sharpening a knife. My heart sank into my stomach and I felt nauseous. Tears fell from my eyes. I tried to talk, but I was gagged.
You're probably wondering why I'll be tied up in the middle of an old warehouse. Well, as it turns out, I have somewhat of a gruesome fetish. I like to carve people open and watch them bleed. I've tortured and murdered loads of women just like you. It never gets old.
His laugh made me want to throw up. I was helpless, and now I was about to die in such a horrifying manner. I kept sobbing hysterically as he walked up with a really sharp long knife. I recognized it as a fillet knife my dad would always use to clean fish. I felt very queasy as he brought the knife up to my skin. Suddenly, the sounds of sirens pulled his attention away. The police suddenly burst into the warehouse with their guns raised. They somehow managed to arrest him. I was freed from my bindings by a detective. She said if it wasn't for my friend using my location tracker I sent her with my phone, they would have never found me. It turns out he has tortured and murdered over 15 other women before he kidnapped me. I don't want to think about what would have happened if I didn't get that text off. I haven't been on another date to this day. I was a teenager living with my mom and sister in a small town in Washington state. My mom had been divorced for some time and decided to start dating again. Her very first date, someone who she had met through a friend, went horribly wrong. He was drunk, meeting up with her, and she decided to leave early. Later that night, we awoke to a phone call at 3 a.m. We let it ring and it went to voicemail. It was the same guy, calling to make threats to my mother and us, calling her a bitch and other foul names. We saved the message and gave it to the police. We didn't hear anything from him after that. The following weekend, I went to a house party while my mom and sister were out of state for a volleyball tournament. I left back home late at night, feeling very uneasy about staying in our house alone. I get in and lock the doors to the house, double checking everything. Being overly paranoid, I decided to sleep in the living room to keep an eye on things. That's when our kitchen telephone started ringing again. I decided to get up and answer it, thinking it may be my mom checking up or a friend. I answered, only to hear,
I'm going to kill you.
And then he hung up. This was before cell phones, so I panicked and tried calling the hotel in Portland that my mom was staying at. No answer. That's when I decided to call the police. Right as I began speaking to the operator, there is a loud banging on the front door. I'm telling this to the operator, curling up into a ball in the corner of our kitchen, trying to hide. And that's when I hear a loud knock to our back door, the door to our kitchen. I go into complete panic mode and reach for a large kitchen knife. I tell the operator someone needs to arrive immediately. Hearing knocks now coming from both the front and back doors at the same time. I decided I'm going to kick the front door as hard as I possibly can and run down the street to my best friend's house. I gather my courage and kick the door open. It's pitch dark out and I see a figure on my right hand side. Without thinking or looking, I blindly stab and run out the door in a complete frenzy. I never ran so fast in my life and couldn't believe that I had actually stabbed someone. I get to my friend's house and bang on the door. His mom and dad come down and are shocked at what I tell them. I ask where my friend is and they were confused, saying earlier that night he was going to be hanging out with me. A couple minutes go by and my friend walks in, with a gash below his collarbone looking white as a ghost. He was blacked out at the party and thought it would be funny if him and another guy pranked me. His parents were beyond pissed and had to deal with the police thinking he was attempting to kill someone. Safe to say, we are no longer best friends, and I have a perpetual phobia of any late night phone calls. Hey guys, so I just want to give a quick shout out to a friend of mine, Midnight Story Productions. He creates his own stories and narrates them. You guys should check him out if you like. I'll post a link in the comment section below.